From the Grotto with Greg Hanna. Greg, what's going on, man? How are you? Greg, we can't hear you. From the special simulcast, The Neil Haley Show, and celebrity interviews live from the Grotto with Greg Hanna. Greg, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing amazing, Neil. How about yourself?
Fantastic. And our guests today are going to bring me back to the days of education and parenting. Our guests today are Arthur Meyer, writer, also Stephanie Drake. We know her from her acting career. Stephanie and Arthur, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right. Good. Greg, with your first question.
Well, first of all, Stephanie, it was great seeing you on Mad Men and Goldberg's have pretty cool shows. Um, but Arthur, how did you and Stephanie connect to start this podcast?
Well, I had written, the 50 episodes of this ABC parenting series, and a different friend of mine was originally going to play the role that Stephanie ended up playing, but she was pregnant and was feeling some pretty bad first trimester symptoms, and we had already scheduled the shoot. So I was scrambling to think, like, who should I have to replace her? And I remember that like a year earlier, I had been watching Mad Men with my wife, and Stephanie was so funny in every scene. She plays Meredith, one of Don Draper's secretaries. And I just kind of threw a Hail Mary and was like, would you want to come out to New York and, be my co-host in this 50 episode series? And she said yes.
Very
Wow.
cool.
I think that
Yeah,
is.
we didn't.
Yeah, go ahead, Stephanie.
No, we didn't know each other. Um, he had DM'd me on Instagram a year before telling me that he was watching Mad Men because he had just had a baby. And all you do after you have a baby is watch TV and play with your baby. So he binged watched Mad Men, and I was so excited to get a message from someone. I mean, Mad Men's been off for so long, I don't hear from people that often anymore. And then when he DM'd me again a year later, I was thrilled at the idea because I'm also a relatively new mom. And we kind of bonded over that and all the funny parenting channels that are out there giving advice. And I thought a channel giving really bad advice just sounded hilarious.
I love it. See, the bad advice might be good advice, Greg.
It probably will be, which is exciting about it. Um, but Stephanie, what's your ultimate goal for the podcast, if you have one?
For ABC Parenting,
Yeah.
Yeah.
to become huge TikTok stars. Obviously, no. I mean, I would love to keep doing it. The beauty of it is that the content is endless. There's always things to talk about being a parent every day. You can come up with a new idea for an episode.
Yeah. And that's the thing, Arthur, isn't it true? Come up with any time there's a topic involving parenting. And parenting coaching was like this big boom in, I'd say, the 90s or the 2000s to the 2010s when I was a teacher. And then it's kind of like, what has happened, Arthur, to parenting? Like, what has happened to these parenting coaches and parenting advice and these different things? It's kind of disappeared to, hey, maybe you could check TikTok, but there really isn't anything.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of think that parenting channels are just ubiquitous now. Like they're everywhere, but that kind of seems like that's just the internet in general. But anything where you could possibly get advice on something is just online. And there are just, with parenting specifically, if you ask 10 different friends what their opinion is on how to handle something, you'll get 10 different answers. So there's just a million billion different parenting channels out there. And we just thought, well, it would be fun to do one where it's actually funny, because a lot of them give real advice that's good advice. We thought, what's the one thing missing
So
from
this would be funny. I
Yes.
wonder what bad advice was really good advice.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we do actually have a couple episodes that occasionally have what I think might be decent advice. Like, for example, we have one about screen time. Screen time is a big issue for parents. So our solution to that is to allow your kids screen time, but only if it's content that is boring or not relevant. So it's a thing that we call stimulate. And it basically is you show your kids things that are no longer relevant, like, for example, a Dennis Miller stand-up comedy set from 1990, something like that. And then your kid will watch that and will no longer want to have anything to do with the screen.
A question for each of you independently, or you could do it all together. I mean, that would be interesting. So you both mentioned newborns or young, just had some children. And what's one or two really bad tips or advice for, a new mom and a new dad?
Well, I was talking to someone the other day. I won't say who, and their advice was to whoop them. I'd say that's not great advice.
That's pretty across the board bad advice. Well, we have one episode of ABC Parenting that covers how not to offend your child when you change their poopy diaper. And we have a few options for how to handle that. One is to just make faces that aren't obvious disgust. So to kind of take a face and, going from something like that to something like that. So that's probably an example. Actually, that's decent advice now that I think about it. You don't want to offend your baby when you're changing their diaper.
You don't want to get upset and say, because it's my 5th diaper I'm changing. No,
yes,
exactly. That's not a good idea. Or change it yourself.
Change it yourself, right? Even if that's the internal voice, you can't always say that to your kid. Because also they don't even know
a lot of internal voices with parenting. Oh, yes. Trust me. And I understand. All right. Go, Greg. Next question.
Did we get answers from both? I mean,
let's hear.
We had whoop them and poopy face. All right.
Any other bad advice? Now, what do you think so the goal is virality, as Stephanie was talking about. I'm going to ask a question on virality. What do you think for repurposing your podcast has been your best so far ability to get the most viral views for you or the most engagement?
We have one episode that I think did really well, partially because it kind of lends itself to virality, which is we have an apology episode. So, I feel like the online apology is something that really hit its stride about 5 or 7 years ago or something like that. So we have an episode called Wacky Zoo where Stephanie and I sing a song about how the cow goes oink and the pig goes moo, and that's what you get at the Wacky Zoo. The next week, we release an episode where we apologize for the song Wacky Zoo for unintentionally misinforming toddlers and in a few cases adults about the sounds that zoo animals make. And that episode went viral pretty quickly. And I think probably part of it is that, we label it, an apology from ABC Parenting. So the funny thing about that is there's a lot of people on TikTok who believe that this is a real parenting channel that's actually making a sincere apology. There's a lot of people who know that we're joking, but there's way more people than there should be. You
listened to it because I listened to a little bit of samples and I thought, oh, regular parenting. I didn't catch it because there's really, but I think it's a genius thing. But then you need to go and do some collaborations with some real parenting podcast.
Yeah, that's actually one of the goals that we're going to try to do for our second season, I guess, if you could call it a season, but is linking up with some legitimate parenting channels
and see if they like that. And then that could help them. And those micro influencers are the really ones you want to work with versus the ones that are serious influencers, because all they want to do is get paid. And then they ultimately won't even get you the views or the engagement you truly want to get people to go back and listen to the podcast.
So Neil, what's your bad tip for parenting? Good tip.
No, bad tip for parenting. You know what? Okay, guys, I'm just sick and tired of you guys. Just don't talk for 5 hours. There you go. I just want silence. I don't want to hear you for 5 hours.
Neil, I think you're on to something.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. The only change I would make to that is to extend it to 6. But other than that, I think it's a pretty foolproof.
Yeah, maybe 8, and then say but then I'm going to bribe them with candy and the iPad and just lock them in the room. Not lock them in the room. They'll be in their room. Because you give them everything they want in their room. And that's the craziness of kids today. They just want to stay in their rooms. It's because of the virtual world that we live in. It's crazy. That's it. They stay in their rooms. Yeah. And I'm still trying to understand that. I think I kind of like that, but some people just don't get it.
Yeah, no, it's crazy how quickly kids just leap at your phone. Like my 2-year-old, if he just sees the phone out, he'll just like practically jump over to it, you
Because
know?
they're all made to continue to watch, watch, and watch, regardless of what.
Yeah.
Uh, they were
Greg,
jacked and ready to go.
Greg, what's your bad parenting advice?
My parent. Oh my goodness. Ah, God, it's been so long.
Mhm.
I can't even tell you. Even my granddaughter's all grown up.
Aw.
Aw.
Whoa, granddaughter, that's crazy. I can't even imagine that.
All right. So
So Stephanie,
Greg's in the clear. Okay.
I'm
All right.
clear.
All right. So Greg, go ahead with other questions about our stars
Stephanie
team. Mhm.
and Arthur. Well, so for Stephanie, what was it like being on Mad Men? And Arthur, what did you love about Mad Men that made you want to binge watch?
No, Arthur was on he was writer. But go ahead with
No, I know, but I was asking. He said he
okay.
binge watched it, right, Neil?
Oh, great question.
So
Yes.
Yes.
why did he want to binge watch it? And Stephanie, what was it that you loved about it? Tell me about it. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I mean, I loved everything about being on that show. It was my first real job. I'd only done a few commercials before that, so I feel like I learned how to be on TV, being on one of the best sets ever. John Hamm taught me how to find my light. And when we were working, and I mean, everyone was so nice. It was a well oiled machine by the time I came on season 5. And it was wonderful. All the actors were wonderful. I mean, I had no idea when I booked the job that I would get to be on it for 3 seasons. I thought it was just going to be a 1 episode thing. And they just kept bringing me back and bringing me back and bringing me back. And it turned into a wonderful 22 episode run. I can't say enough good things about it. It's opened a lot of doors for me.
Very
And
cool.
yes, Stephanie is so funny in it. I feel like I just was drawn to her. Like every scene she's in, she kind of steals it for me. Because it's a show that's is funny at times. A lot of times it's also pretty dramatic. But every moment that Stephanie is in is really funny. I think there's just a certain vacancy and positivity, kind of like a warmth that's sort of cut by ditziness, kind of that like just really makes me laugh. And honestly, I think lends itself really well to ABC parenting, where we are confidently delivering bad advice. I'm just really drawn to stupid people in comedy, and I would say that Meredith is perhaps not the brightest tool in the shed, but it takes a lot of intelligence to play dumb. I genuinely think so. I think some the funniest comedians ever are who can play stupid really well are in fact themselves very smart.
Now, Arthur, do you do all the writing for the podcast?
Yeah, for ABC Parenting, I wrote all the episodes. But yeah, for the next season, I'm kind of opening it up to we have a little ABC Parenting team, and I invited people to contribute their own episodes.
Wow. And so Arthur, you also you wrote, as Neil had mentioned, for Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore, and I'm sure a number of other people well known and maybe not so well known. Did you have a particular process or mindset that you'd get into when you were writing for these guys? If you just walk us through that.
Yeah, so the big thing with a late night show and with the Drew Barrymore show too, any show that's on every day, it's basically like a factory. So it's basically just kind of a grind. A lot of times when I was at Fallon, I would take the subway to work at 8 in the morning, and I'd try to be thinking of ideas of things that I could pitch that could go into the monologue that day. And if you kind of cleared enough hurdles, then something that you wrote that morning on the subway could be on TV that night, at 11:30 when you're home. So it's just, I think just there's a certain work ethic that contrasts my naturally lazy nature that I think really like teaches you to not be precious about your ideas, to just kind of each idea, it's like a Kleenex. Like you use it, toss it away, move on to the next one. And a show like Fallon, it's kind of, I sort of compare a show like Fallon to the baseball season, where a show like SNL is kind of like football, where like, a nightly show, it's like baseball. You're doing one show every day. So even your best teams are going to lose 40, 50, 60 games in a season. So you're not going to like have a great show every night, but that's kind of part of it, whereas a show like SNL, once a week, kind of like football. You get fewer chances, so you really want to try to make it good. But I really like that daily nature of working at a late night show, and it works. It lends itself well to something like ABC Parenting, where we just, we do 50 episodes. So it's like, what's the first instinct that you have for an idea, and then how do I exaggerate that to make it funny?
Very
So
cool.
one
Real
thing,
quick follow-up,
go
Neil.
ahead.
So besides, writing for your ABC podcast, you guys, are you still writing for other creatives now, or?
I am not right now. I'm sort of kind of, taking a few gigs here and there, but kind of looking for work, but also just taking time to, focus on my own writing and ABC, which is really fun. I think that, a lot of friends that I have right now are having sort of a tough time in the entertainment industry finding work. So this seems like a really good time to try to work on your own project, something that you're in creative control of, and that you could potentially show to people who might make it into a bigger thing. I mean, one of my dreams I have for ABC Parenting would be to turn it into a full TV show, which would be amazing. And I think the best way to do that is to kind of make these examples of what the episodes could be.
Excellent.
What do you think the reason why not writers are having difficulty even after the strike to find work?
I think it's pretty complicated, but I think a lot of it has to do with the streaming services kind of cutting back on the amount of money that they're giving to shows. I think when streaming started, they were just greenlighting everything, and the model there was to just like produce, make all these shows, and then eventually we'll, recoup our money and make some profits. And I just think that a lot of these streamers ended up kind of losing money, so they're just getting a lot more conservative in terms of what shows they're greenlighting. Also, I think that the gains made in the Writers Guild strike, which was last year, were very beneficial, but I kind of think were maybe more beneficial to writers who have been really established or have been in the industry for a long time, and not as beneficial to writers who haven't had, as many jobs or, that kind of thing. But I also don't know. I don't know. I mainly just know that I have a lot of friends who are kind of struggling right now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, Greg, you're up to your final question, right, Greg? For
All
both?
right. You each get it.
All right.
Who wants to go first?
You want to do
I'll
this
go
one?
Stephanie,
first.
great. All
Sure.
right. Okay. So, and I'm looking for an answer from your heart on this one for sure. So tell me, Stephanie, what do you feel is the most important thing in life you've ever learned?
Wow. The most important thing in life I've ever learned. I think family is, and keeping family close and dear to your heart. I was with my family about a month ago and watching my son with his cousins. I was so emotional. And I was like, I turned to my husband and I was like, this is what it's all about.
Very cool. Great answer.
I have the same question.
Yeah, Arthur, what do you feel is the most important thing in life you've ever learned?
Okay. In place of that, can I answer the least important thing in life I have not learned? That would be when a van is backing up and going in reverse and it's making the beep, beep, beep noise. What part of the van is that coming from? That's the least important thing in life that I have never learned. I don't know where the beeping comes from when a van backs up. Does anyone here know? There's no like speakers on a van, right? Like where's the beeping coming from?
I don't know.
It's the least important thing that I've never learned.
All right, so let's go with the real one now.
Oh no. Okay, I guess the most important thing is probably, I don't know, I guess probably to trying to think. What's the most important thing? I guess that that we all die one day. That seems pretty important. I guess I learned that at a young age. But it seems pretty important to kind of keep in your mind so that you can kind of do what you want to do in life while you're alive, if you can.
That's actually a very strong answer. I like that. Yeah.
Wait, I have a question for you, Craig.
Yeah.
So we're on Zoom right now, and I noticed that your background is an interesting one, and I want to know what the background is called. When you select it, is it called like 17th century dungeon? Like, what is it called?
It is called My Grotto in My House.
I think
That's
it's
your actual
real.
house?
Yeah.
I am in awe. I cannot believe this.
That's my wine cellar.
But if he's
Oh,
using it as
wow.
a Zoom background, but that
Yeah.
is his wine cellar in his basement. in his-
Cool.
That is amazing.
When I'm home, it's my studio, but I'm not home today.
All right. Well, fantastic. We appreciate it, guys. Best place we can watch ABC's parenting. Where can we go and listen?
Well, it's on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. We're always trying to get more subscribers on YouTube. So if you just look up ABC Parenting on YouTube, then you'll find something like about 40 episodes.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye.